We've got ourselves an AI question here.
Hmm.
Darren Aronofsky, famous director, probably most famous for what? The Wrestler?
The Wrestler, Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan. There's several.
Recently created a completely AI television show. I'm sure you've heard of this. On This Day, 1776 for Time.
Yep.
Receiving a lot of significant backlash, if you will. Is it justified? We've been hammering on AI for years now.
100% it's justified, and this guy should be getting cooked like he's basically a freaking TV dinner, as far as I'm concerned. It is mind-blowing to me that Darren Aronofsky, one of the great directors of the last 25 years, who has been an expert at exploring humanity, granted the darker corners of humanity, but exploring humanity, has switched to this soulless garbage. I'm sorry, what an effing sellout, as far as I'm concerned. This thing, and I've seen some of this stuff. It's like these quick hitters that are they're uploaded to the Time YouTube page, I believe. But except for the voices, pretty much everything is AI. And they all, like the pictures, the rendering, they all have this dead look in their eyes. It's just like, I could not be more disappointed in a person than I was not expecting this of a director like Darren Aronofsky. And then to see this week that Roger Avery, who is the longtime partner of Quentin Tarantino, they have their own podcast that goes where they talk about the preservation of film and VHS and all this other stuff. He's planning 3 AI things. And from what it sounds like, a lot of it was because of the fact that he couldn't get any real funding for these things off the board. And then he's like, as soon as I put AI on there, all of a sudden the money's there. And then Doug Liman is doing this one with Pete Davidson, Killing Satoshi. It's with Pete Davidson and Casey Affleck. And they already talked about they're going to be using a lot to adjust performances. And it's just like, I hate this. I hate all of this. It's just getting worse. And people are artists are drinking the Kool-Aid. And it's so damn disappointing. I did not want to see fucking Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt fight each other in that bullshit AI video that they put up.
I gotta tell you though, they're on the top of the roof. So I saw that scrolling.
It's excellent. It's
Twitter.
Good. It's good.
For 5 seconds, I thought, gosh, when were they in a movie?
Yeah.
After Interview with a Vampire, and I'm trying to think, and I'm thinking, all of a sudden I look at the comments, and I'm like, oh, that's AI. That's scary. How good they look.
It's amazing how much has progressed in 6 months.
Yeah, you think of that, even that Will Smith video where he's eating
spaghetti?
Pizza or spaghetti?
Something like that.
Right. But I remember going, ooh, this AI stuff isn't going to work. And all of a sudden now, it's going to get to the point where you can't tell. I worry more about the slippery slope. I'm all about not taking tools away when it comes to creativity and vision. Because there is an argument to be made, I think, when it comes to vision. Let's say somebody doesn't have the tools to create film. There are those barriers for years, right? Before the internet came along and before you had CapCut and all these easy editing tools. It was impossible to edit a video. We all had to use these old school video cams, and you could only go so far with just a simple video cam, right? And then everything kind of leveled off, and then it's become a meritocracy. But man, it's going to get to the point where is there anything like analog and real that connects? And I think that's the scariest thing is what if, here's a scenario that kind of ties in. What if Ryan Coogler and Paul Thomas Anderson get up on that stage on Oscar night and they say, you guys aren't going to believe us, but we had a handshake pact that we would try to make 2 movies, all AI, and not tell a soul. And then all of a sudden we find out that Sinners and One Battle After Another are completely AI, completely 100% AI. Could you imagine either the backlash, but also the, oh my gosh, we didn't even know. How could nobody have figured that out? But what if it gets that good? What do you do?
How do we react? That's an impressive question. And obviously, neither one of those things are true. I honestly think that Ryan Coogler and PTA would rather throw themselves off the top of the Empire State Building before they did AI, a complete AI movie. But it brings up, like, if that really was the situation, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna live in a Hollywood. You can call me old fashioned. You can call me a fuddy duddy. I don't fucking care. If the future of AI, if the future of the movies is AI, I'll live in the past. I will happily do it because I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of movies that I haven't even seen yet at this point. And I'm not going to pick something or go with something that is so utterly soulless because, listen, art
But
has
that's the
to come
problem,
from
though.
the human
What if
soul.
what if
It's
these do end up having soul? I think that's
That's
the
the thing.
scary part.
That is a different conversation then. Because if
Right.
you have an actual real AI that can learn, then by learn I mean that is conscious and self-aware. Well, then you're talking about a completely different thing. We're talking about, you know, things we've talked about before with AI, where it's like, okay, do they have a soul? Do they have rights? I think they do at that point. Are they then considered, or is it a creative situation since they do have that self-awareness? Because listen, everything that someone that is created from an authorship has been influenced by other things that come before it, right? Star Wars was influenced by Dune was influenced by John Carter of Mars, that Burroughs was influenced by Jules Verne, and onward and onward and onward. But they all created things of their own unique imagination. It was influence, not theft. And all that AI can do at this point, generatively wise, is thieve from other people. And that is where I have the problem, because you're taking that human element out of it. As you said, slippery slope. We're moving towards an era and a situation that is unprecedented, where you may at this point say, click, I want my own generated film involving, Indiana Jones and this storyline and these characters and this MacGuffin, and then you create it. It's a 2-hour movie. It's got all the voices, got everything you want, and then, oh, by the way, make me a hard copy for my 4K Blu-ray player. I don't know if I want to live in that world, man. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think that most of the directors who are our age or older, or even if you want to say like 35 or older, right? Like we're mid 40s. You grew up in the era of you learn and you watch movies and it becomes part of the culture of like what cameras they use and the type of film stock,
Yep.
right? We hear a lot about like the IMAX cameras. I think that's going to be a different story though in like 10, 15 years when you have these up and coming directors who are more and more used to everybody's cutting stuff on their computer,
Yeah.
to the point where like they're not even picking up a camera, right? There's some kid right now practicing on all these different AI apps, and he or she is getting really damn good at creating these new films. That's, I think, the scary part too, is like in 30, 40 years, that type of like expertise, where does it go? And then of course you're going to have the big
That's the thing.
backlash. You're going to have the old school folks who, it's the equivalent of like music. They're still listening to vinyl and cassette tape. But I think it'll be more pronounced in movies where you're going to have a bigger contingent of people who do not want to go AI.
Right. I'm hoping that there is that traditional hardline that says, I want to learn this on my own. I want to, because the
That's the
passion and the
craft. Otherwise,
beauty,
you're just
yeah,
sitting and talking and typing words into like, that's not a movie.
that's the passion and where the art comes out. That's where greatness comes from. Is you're in there sweating, you're cutting the film. You look at what Steven Spielberg did. He went to film school, like he went to every movie he could. He created things on his own. He went out and did stuff. He didn't like click a prompt and then, oh, everything is there. That's not art. That's not sweat, blood, and tears. It's like we need to be at the point where we want to be able to engage with things. We want to be intelligent about things. We want to be able to learn and read and do. And I've seen the recent reports about how the Gen Z is like not as smart as the previous generation before, which isn't something that has happened in God, I don't know how long. And that's terrifying to me, because where we want to have this quest for knowledge. I want to stand in awe. I want to be aspirational. I want to be appreciative. I want to see movies and television shows and books and stuff where I see people that are so much better than I am at a certain craft or whatever it is, so that I can just stand there in awe and be inspired by them. I don't understand it.
I'll give you something that scares me, and then something that gives me hope. What scares me is more of the the money aspect, because I think there are going to be, well, I'm just using the term kid, but there's going to be some young dude who creates a film and it gets a lot of clicks and it gets a lot of views, and somehow he makes a lot of money from that video. It's going to be something like the Tom
It's
Cruise
already happening,
Brad
probably.
Pitt fight. Right. But there's going to be something like that where somebody creates, like, for example, hey, what they should have done instead of Rise of Skywalker. And they're going to make some like hour-long film, all AI, and it's going to look damn good. And it's probably, sadly, going to be better than Rise of Skywalker. Right. And it's going to get a
Probably.
lot of, no, let's be honest, it's going to get a lot of
Yeah.
hype and it's going to make some money. That part scares me because there's going to be that money aspect. But here's what gives me hope. I think eventually that type of film will get ridiculed and it will die. And I also think a lot of directors, maybe even Aronofsky too, and Roger Avery there, I think they'll create some stuff with AI, and then they'll realize like it didn't scratch the itch, and they'll go back to the
It's
OG.
possible.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Listen,
Everybody needs to get a taste because it's a new tool, but then I
yeah,
think everybody's going to eventually like go, all right, this isn't the same as like working with an actor and trying to figure out lighting and all that stuff.
right, exactly. I think that's true. And listen, I am not opposed to using AI in certain areas, for touch ups, or if if especially with heavily effects films, if it makes the production go, faster and things like that. But even then, maybe we're taking jobs away from who it is. But I'm having a real issue with, like, if you're taking the writers out of the equation, you're taking the actors out of the equation, you're taking the directors out of the equation, because then you're really taking away what is the heart of the art itself. And then where is this industry? So basically, there's no actors, there's no writers, there's no directors anymore. It's just all AI, and Hollywood is what it is. I mean, I don't like the vision of that. I just and also the other thing too is that we look at the Brad Pitt Tom Cruise thing. Where are the lawsuits? Because if I'm either one of those
We haven't even
people,
touched about that.
if
Yeah.
I'm either one of those people, I'm like, I didn't authorize my likeness. I didn't give you permission to use my voice. What the fuck is going on? Because Tom Cruise is not happy about this. I guarantee that.
Which brings up like 17 other questions. Like, what if they do allow their likeness to
That's
be
the thing.
used?
That's the thing. I
Or
mean,
what if they
like,
say no, but like, can the lawyers and agents track everybody down that's using this stuff?
that's the other. I mean,
Like,
we have to write an AI program to find that, right?
right.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
ugh. When
It's
it all comes,
gross.
you made a perfect point, Luke, which is that it is all going to come down to money. Who controls, and that's the other thing. Who controls this stuff? Who ultimately controls this? Is it the tech bros? Because, jeez, God forbid that's the case. Again, I have movies that I can be fine with for the rest of my life, but it's just like that. I just weep for this future. This is not what I wanted AI to be at all.
Non-AI films, actual films. I think there's too much of a strong contingent there to get swept away by AI. I just think it's going to be one of those things where it does share the space, but everybody's going to know it's AI. Somehow there's going to be some program that figures out whether or not it is AI. And I think I think it's going to be one of those things that gets ridiculed. It'll be like something fun to do the same way we do, like, everybody makes like
We will
video game
ridicule it.
characters.
We will
Right.
ridicule it, but how much will the younger generation?
Yeah, in 30 years. Right.
That's the other question is too. I mean, we've got to be able to find some symbiosis where there is some balance, where they can work together, where there's something equitable, where people are still getting paid, where we're not having a complete loss of job. I think I bank it with the streaming situation. I think that's why I think the Netflix and the Warner Brothers merger is going to be a good thing, because they complement each other. They're not trying to. The Warner Brothers is not trying to be a streamer, and Netflix is not trying to be Warner Brothers. They're going to say, hey, Warner Brothers is going to continue to make theatrical films. We've never had that aspect for us before. The whole thing is to find a way for them to work together and be complementary to each other. Same thing I think here applies with AI. There's got to be some type of middle ground.
Have you watched the Aronofsky stuff yet?
I've watched some of it, yes. I was able to watch it for about 30, 45 seconds, and then I felt physically ill and had to turn it off. I did watch some of the Tom Cruise Brad Pitt thing, Which, by the way, it was so weird because it was something that like Brad Pitt was pissed because Tom Cruise killed Epstein. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys, we don't need that shit going
Oh,
on.
is there actually a narrative behind that fight scene?
Yeah, they're talking to each other.
Oh, I
They're
just thought it was
talking
the
to each other
15-second fight.
No. They are talking to each other with voices, their own voices that sound very much like, whatever. And I've known some people that they can spot AI easily, and they had a situation with leaders like, I wonder what movie this is from. It wasn't a movie, it was AI, and that's what just geez.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is sponsored by ChatGPT, this podcast.
Yeah, no. If it was, I think we'd have a much more luxurious bunker where we would be talking to each other.